welcome to the CBS Eye on Money podcast. It is Thursday, September 9th. Mark, how are you doing? It's September. It's
football season. It's football season. I'm good.
It's very strange that you actually care about football.
I love watching football. I don't really have a particular team. I just love watching NFL football.
I like to watch football on television more so than any other sport.
I've realized that about you. You definitely get into the NFL.
I do. I like the NFL. I don't know why. When you're at a game, you don't have a great viewpoint. Even if you have great seats, it's just harder to see the game. And especially in the family of CBS, I just love our sports guys. I think and gals, they're fantastic. If you have a question about sports and money, if you have a money question about your own financial life, give us a holler. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com, and our website is called jillonmoney.com. We've got a contact button there. While you're on the website, don't forget to sign up for our free weekly newsletter. It is fantastic. Now, today, we have, Mark, is this our first caller from the Great North? No, it's not. It is not. Okay. Well, we still have a great treat for you. We have somebody who's basically in Alaska for a wedding, who's like, I got a question and I want to talk about it. So in the pre-wedding run-up, we're going to get Neil's life managed right after this. Okay, we're back, and we are now going to talk to Neil, who's in Alaska for his buddy's wedding. Now,
do you think he wants to ask how much money he should give as a gift?
Neil, what are you giving as a wedding gift?
We're giving tools. They're also in a similar boat and just bought their first house.
Oh my God. I'm surprised are you at a lesbian wedding? Because I could have used a toolkit, and I'll tell you the truth. When we had no tools, Mark, you know this. Thank God I live in New York City where it's super, because I cannot do anything. The only thing that we've ever done where we've actually enjoyed it as a home improvement project is spackling, because there's a sort of neatness associated with it. After that, I'm done. There's nothing for me.
Whereas I love to fix anything possible myself.
You have it in your DNA. It's totally different. Even though my father-in-law was an engineer, he wasn't like a fix-it guy. It's very strange. All right, Neil, what's going on? What can we do for you?
All right. Well, I'm trying to figure out how best to use debt. This is kind of new for me. So we just bought a house a little over a year ago, and we are working on building a detached accessory dwelling unit, another unit on the property, and we've got financing for it, but we're trying to figure out how exactly to use that financing and how to pay it off and how to treat that debt compared to mortgage debt, which we know and are comfortable keeping our low mortgage debt without paying that off quickly, but just really trying to figure out, do we start spending out of that? Do we start spending out of cash or brokerage? Where do we start spending for this bigger project?
How much is the house worth?
The house is worth around $775.
How much is the outstanding mortgage balance?
$295.
Why you have so much equity? Why is that?
We got really lucky. We live in a town where house values kind of exploded, and we did a lot of work on the house. So when we got it appraised for the loan, we were a little shocked.
Holy smoke. What'd you buy it for a year ago?
I don't know if you want to know. $375.
Yes, I do. How much?
$375.
Shut the front door.
It's doubled in 1 year?
We basically won the lottery.
You did?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
The combination of everything lined up, and we're exactly where we want to be. We're in our town, we're in the town with family, and we're so lucky.
Fantastic. So the $295, what's the rate on that mortgage?
2.75.
You're not paying that off.
No.
How much will it cost us to build the detached unit?
We think it'll be somewhere between $200 and $230.
And when you said you've secured financing, did you just get an equity line against your house, or did you actually get a loan amount for the detached unit?
We didn't assume that it was going to be a possibility to use equity to build a project like this, but because we didn't think we'd have equity a year into a project, but we did. So we were able to get a HELOC on the house for up to $250,000.
And nothing is outstanding yet. In other words,
Nope.
it's okay. And the interest rate is what, some formula based on what
It's some
exactly?
formula, prime plus a certain amount that's currently 3.5%. And so it's variable, but kind of at a floor of 3.5%.
And then if you look at this couple 100,000 that you have to spend, like how quickly can you get this done?
We think that this project would be done somewhere in the next 18 months.
Why so long?
Well, because I'm trying to give myself a lot of buffer. The project will probably be done. It freezes, so we can't start construction until spring of next year.
Okay. So there's no reason to pull anything down on the line. You have it, it's outstanding, it's done. And it's,
Right.
And so that's fine. So let's talk about the other assets that you guys have and how much you earn.
My partner and I, my partner is a teacher, and she makes about $65,000 a year. And I work for an environmental nonprofit and make about $45,000 a year. We save a lot. We, between all of our accounts, save around $60,000 or $70,000 a year.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. How is that possible? You make $110,000 a year and you save $60,000? My God, it's amazing. Do you guys each have retirement accounts through work?
Yeah. So I have that's simple. My partner has a 457 or 403B. I'm not sure which one. Between the non-taxable, the 457 and the simple IRA, we have a combined 162. And then in the Roth IRAs and her Roth 457, because she splits her contributions, we have 195.
Oh my God. How old are you guys?
29 and 30.
Mark, I thank you. You need a bell. I need a bell. I need cowbell. I need so much going on. You guys are amazing. What about kids? Any kids yet?
No kids yet. That's part of the construction project. Part of how we're able to be frugal too. We're living in this house with roommates, and so building the ADU is an exciting goal to be able to move into that space.
You can't just shove your kid into that detached unit. I just want to say that that's something that you have to really remember right there and there. Okay. When do you think you're going to have to actually start spending some? Oh, wait, I forgot. I'm sorry. Let me do one other thing. How much money is in emergency reserves?
So we don't spend very much. So the month lead time for emergency reserves is about 15,000. And then we have like 25 in taxable brokerage accounts, and between checking and savings right now, we're probably also close to 15,000 because of how the school pays during the summer. They give you all of your summer paychecks in June. So
right, big lump sum. Yeah. Now, Mark, how do you want to finance this detached unit, and when are you moving in? No, really, Mark, what do you think? Do you think that because I have an idea here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts before I begin.
You probably have an idea that I have not come up with. Based on what I've heard, I'm kind of leaning towards the equity line of credit.
I am also, however, considering that you're saving so much money, if you would just break that out for me, you say 60 or 70 year in savings. How much of that of that 60 or 70, how much do you think you're saving in terms of the non-retirement assets?
We max out everything in terms of retirement assets. So that would be
19.5 times 2, and then Roth.
And then Roth.
Right.
So it would be whatever's left over is just kind of slush fund that went into buying the current house and working on the current house. And then, so that's all still available.
If you were to kind of drabble this out a little bit, I mean, the thing about a home equity line of credit, which I am inclined to use also, but I'm also inclined to use your cash flow to help as well. And the only reason I'm saying that is, today 3.5% seems fine. However, it is also quite possible that we are entering a higher interest rate environment in the future. So it's not a terrible idea to try to not necessarily take all this money out at once, like a little bit at a time, and see how you do. So if by the time we get to the next spring. And instead of having, I don't know, let's just say that you're going to have 20 grand in your emergency reserves. And then between the taxable brokerage and the checking savings, that instead of 40, there's like 50 grand in there.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I might start to say like, hey, you know what? Maybe the first tranche of money that I spend will be some of that 50 grand. I don't know how the money's going to come out for you guys. Like, I don't know if it's like, well, we actually need 50 grand to get started. But some combination thereof, I think is fine. And I think that, depending on how things go and how quickly things move along, that using the HELOC is going to be fine. And then you're just going to have to, the money that was going into the non-retirement savings is just going to have to go very aggressively into paying down that debt. Because that number is going to go up. It really is.
And that's kind of what we expected.
Yep.
So we'll spend down some of that liquid chunk of checking, savings, and brokerage, and then jump into the HELOC. And then as soon as we can, just pay it down because of the variable rate. It's
exactly.
You don't want to get stuck with it.
Right, exactly. And not that I think that rates are going to 10%, but I think that generally it's sort of widely accepted that rates are heading higher. And it may not be that much higher, but I think because you're natural savers and you do live frugally, I think you're going to feel more comfortable if you keep the HELOC a bit more in check. So, you see how it goes also, right? I mean, we don't know really how quickly this is all going to happen. When you're working with contractors, I would always give bonuses based on, I would say to like, are you going to do this yourself or are you going to hire a general contractor? How are you going to do some of this stuff?
Yeah, we're pretty connected with people in the trades, so we're going to general contract ourselves.
Okay, great. And then you can say to some of these tradespeople, which I've done a million times, and also you're going to have a little bit of a break because since you're not starting this second, the whole shortage of building materials should be loosened up by the time you start. But you can say to people like, hey, you know what, buddy? Like, I will give you a chunk of money up front, but you got to get it done by this, or I'll give you a bonus of this if you get it done by this time. Because I think the problem with these projects is they can really drag on. And I don't think you want that. And I certainly don't think you want to live like that, especially if you're going to have kids. And what is going to happen in this detached unit? Like, in other words, is this going to be like an office? Is this going to be a rental? What's going to happen in that?
So it's actually going to be a 800 square foot 2-bedroom home. And so the plan is that we would actually move into it because it's going to be new and nice, and we're going to make all of the decisions in it.
Yes.
So I think we're going to be pretty happy in there. So we're going to move in there, and then we're going to rent out the house.
Oh my God. And then what do you think the cash flow from the rent will be?
It's a big question. We just got a short-term rental permit, so we might go that route. We might go long-term, but right now we could rent the house for $3,000 a month.
Oh my God.
There you go.
Oh my God. It's fantastic. I love this game plan.
You just use that money and whack down the line.
Exactly. That loan is going to get paid off in like no time. Easy peasy.
Well, that's the plan.
Oh my God, Mark! I want to move to Alaska with Neil. No, you're not in Alaska, but I won't. I
know where Neil is. Neil's been on the show with us before. I remembered him about halfway through. I remember where he's from.
When I called before, we were renting and trying to decide whether to buy, and I tried to look back on that call because you had asked me the question that you always ask somebody: how much would a house cost that you would want to live in?
Yeah,
and the amount that I told you then would not buy you a piece of land in our town anymore.
But the funny thing is, it did buy you that.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? So the beauty of this is that you jumped when you knew what you could get.
Right.
And I mean, if you had to go spend, $750,000 on a house right now, you wouldn't be able to do this. You would not be able to live, Mr. Nonprofit, environmental guy with teacher. You're not getting into a $775,000 house. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. And I mean, the reason why this all works so beautifully is number one, you turn this into a rental property with a 2.75% note. And guys, when you're thinking about rental, like, when you go get a mortgage and it's actually already income producing property, you don't get that cheaper rate ever. Never, never, never. So that's number one. Number two, you've got the whole idea around like I'm living frugally. And frankly, if this all works out, and it will, I think, you're living in a place that you can also really carry so easily. So it, to me, is simply just like the beautiful game plan. Like, I think that you are not only going to have this fantastic life, I think there's also a really cool opportunity to flip back into the main house in the future, which is also fantastic.
Yeah, that was one of our main goals when we were looking for a place, was something that either had a weird feature, was on a hill where you could easily carve out a chunk of the house to make another unit to rent, or to be able to build. But building new construction is really expensive, so we were a little nervous about it. But once we looked at these numbers and had equity to pay for it, because it's hard to come up with cash, with a couple $100,000 in cash.
Yeah,
we were pretty thrilled.
You're amazing. You're amazing. Is there anything else we can help you with? Because I feel like I'm ready to move in with you and just take care of you. Like, how would that 800 square feet be for all of us? Me, Mark, his kid, our spouses.
That's very New York-esque.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's funny is that you notice that we didn't say like 800 square feet, that's nothing, because we're used to small spaces here.
Right.
I think that a lot of people who have houses are like, think it's a little freaky. And you're going to find that, weirdly enough, you basically only live in like 600 to 800 square feet of your dwelling anyway.
Right.
So it's fantastic. If you have a question like Neil, it's a real estate question, it's maybe a building question, a construction question, a financing question, we would really love to hear from you. Our email address is askjill@jillonmoney.com, and our website is jillonmoney.com. Don't forget, you can follow us wherever you get podcasts. You can also subscribe to our sister podcast. It's called Jill on Money. And we want to remind you to please put your hands metaphorically on someone's back today. And remember that the Eye on Money mantra for 2021 is curiosity, compassion, and community. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you next week.